Chosen one. Heaven has stilled the noise of the world tonight, just to reach you. Everything you scroll past fades. Every distraction pauses. Every voice goes silent, because this moment carries the sound of divine urgency. You have walked through years of uncertainty, carrying questions that seem to echo without answer. But heaven whispers now, tonight matters more than the last 10 years. Not because time has changed, but because you finally have ears to hear what eternity has been trying to tell you. You were never random. You were never forgotten. Every tear, every unanswered prayer, every door that slammed in your face, none of it was wasted. The divine was writing your preparation in silence. You have been hidden not because you were unworthy, but because your unveiling required the right moment. And that moment, chosen one, is now. The heavens have opened their record books. Your name is being read aloud. The assignment that once felt delayed is being released with acceleration. Listen carefully. The Spirit has been hovering over your life like the dawn before sunrise, waiting for you to notice. Heaven is not late, it's precise. Every pain, every rejection, every why has been aligning you with this night. You thought the last decade broke you, but it built a foundation unshakable by storms. The waiting was never punishment, it was prophecy in disguise. You've endured so much darkness that you began to mistake survival for purpose. But the truth is, survival was just the training ground for destiny. What once crushed you will now testify of your strength. Heaven has seen your private battles, the tears you wiped before anyone could notice, the prayers whispered into your pillow. None of them vanished into nothing. Every cry became a seed planted in eternity. And tonight, those seeds begin to bloom. You stand at a crossroad of timelines. One path leads back to the familiar pain. The other leads forward into your divine assignment. The difference will not be made by chance. It will be made by your choice. Listen, chosen one. There is a reason your heart feels a divine stirring right now. It is not anxiety, it is awakening. Heaven is calling your name like thunder, wrapped in light. The time to doubt has expired. The time to rise has arrived. You have felt unseen, unheard, and undervalued. But while people were overlooking you, heaven was anointing you. Your name has been mentioned in rooms you've never entered. Your obedience has reached places your feet haven't yet walked. Tonight, God does not need your perfection. He needs your attention. For 10 years, you've been asking for a sign. And now, the sign is speaking directly to you. As the Apostle wrote in his letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, "And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, who are called according to his purpose." That verse is not just poetry, it is instruction. Be still in this moment, for the stillness is sacred. God is not waiting for your performance, he is waiting for your surrender. There is a quiet kind of faith that terrifies the darkness, the kind that doesn't need to see proof before believing the promise. That is the faith rising in you tonight. The enemy has tried to distract you with noise, to make you scroll past what could save your soul. But heaven has locked your eyes here for a reason. Breathe. Let go of the last decade of striving. Release the guilt of what didn't happen, the regret of who left, the frustration of delay. Every minute that seemed wasted was divine preparation. God was not ignoring you. He was isolating you for intimacy. While others were being seen, you were being shaped. While others celebrated, You were being calibrated for eternal purpose. The quiet season was not punishment, it was construction. If you have ever felt that divine tug that says, "I was made for more," this is your confirmation. The heavens agree with you. The delay is breaking. The chains of confusion are falling. The divine assignment you thought was lost is resurfacing like buried treasure. You are not behind. You are right on schedule. Heaven's timeline begins when your obedience says, "Yes," before you go. Take this moment and mark it in faith. Type the number 77 inches, the comments, a prophetic act, symbolizing divine completion and spiritual awakening. Let it be your declaration that you will not miss this moment. If this word burns in your spirit, like it was written just for you, don't keep it silent. Like this message, so it reaches another chosen one. Share it so the chain of awakening continues. And if you haven't yet, subscribe and stay aligned with what heaven is releasing. You are part of something bigger than yourself. Something holy. Something eternal. Tonight, the heavens have recorded your yes. The divine pause has begun. And history will remember that you didn't scroll away. The 10-year delay. Explained. Chosen one. Let's speak plainly. You have carried the weight of waiting so long that you began to wonder if heaven forgot your address. 10 years, 10 long cycles of hope and disappointment, of beginnings that seemed promising and endings that left you in silence. You looked at others moving forward, their prayers seemingly answered, while yours echoed unanswered through the corridors of heaven. Yet tonight, heaven unveils the truth. Every delay was divine. Every silence sacred. Every unanswered prayer part of a strategy designed to prepare you for what only obedience could unlock. You see, delay in the kingdom is never denial. The Spirit hides you not to harm you, but to preserve you until the appointed hour. The last decade has not been about loss. It's been about layering your foundation with endurance, humility, and spiritual discernment. You have been refined, not rejected. What you called waiting, heaven called weaving threads of purpose intricately pulled through every heartbreak, every closed door, every lonely night. You may not have understood it then, but every season of stillness was a divine classroom. The lessons were written not in books, but in your tears. Not in lectures, but in long nights, when you chose faith over fear. When you asked, "God, where are you?" Heaven was whispering, "I'm right here," shaping you into someone who can carry what's coming. There are blessings so heavy they would crush an unprepared soul. God delayed not to punish you, but to make sure your heart could handle what your hands were about to hold. The Spirit reminds you that purpose and timing are twins. One without the other destroys destiny. Many are called, but few wait. You, however, waited. You endured misunderstanding, ridicule, the silence of heaven, and the noise of doubt. But deep inside, you refused to give up. You held on to a whisper, a small ember of belief that refused to die even when everything else crumbled. That ember is the reason heaven never gave up on you. Chosen one, understand this truth. What you lost in time, you are about to gain in acceleration. The years that seemed wasted will now compress into moments of divine fulfillment. Heaven does not repay in seconds, it redeems in seasons. The 10 years of delay were heaven's way of aligning the right people, the right resources, the right encounters, and the right spiritual maturity so that when the door opens, it never shuts again. The darkness tried to convince you that waiting meant forgotten. But the truth is, God hides his treasures until the right time for unveiling. Even Jesus waited 30 years before stepping into his public assignment. David was anointed, but sent back to shepherd fields. Joseph dreamed of greatness, but spent years in prison before seeing the promise fulfilled. You are walking in the same divine rhythm, the rhythm of those who were trusted with delay because their destiny was too weighty for the impatient. Tonight, heaven speaks to your weary heart. Your waiting has been seen. The silence you mistook for absence was the sound of heaven, arranging your next chapter. What seemed delayed was being developed. What seemed paused was being prepared. What you thought was stillness was actually strategy. As was declared through the prophet Habakkuk in the sacred scrolls. Chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision waits for the appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come. These are not ancient words, they are living truth. The appointed time is not an idea, it is a moment that carries your name. Heaven has been holding your promise until your character could protect it. The last 10 years were heaven's investment in your maturity, not your misery. Every disappointment removed distractions. Every heartbreak refined motives. Every setback shaped your strength. You are now walking out of the waiting season carrying authority you did not have before. The patience forged in pain is your new power. The discernment gained through isolation is your armor. The empathy birthed in suffering is your ministry. What took 10 years to build will not take another 10 to reveal. You will soon understand why God said, "Not yet." He was waiting until the blessing could no longer destroy you. And now, the waiting is over. The heavens are shifting. The very thing you prayed for in tears is now approaching in glory. So take a breath. Look back without bitterness. Those silent years were not wasted. They were womb years, carrying the birth of your destiny. And tonight, as the clock of heaven strikes alignment, the pain that once defined you will become the platform that refines you. The 10-year delay was never a detour. It was the divine design preparing you for the weight of the promise now arriving. Heaven's clock strikes now. Chosen one. Can you feel it? The air around you is different. Something unseen has shifted in the atmosphere, not chaos, but convergence. What once felt delayed has synchronized. Heaven's timing, your obedience, your pain, and your preparation have finally found alignment. The decade of silence was never the end of your story. It was the countdown. And tonight, the clock of heaven strikes now. This is not poetic language. It is prophecy unfolding. You have crossed the invisible line between almost and appointed. Everything that once stood still begins to move. Where doors were locked, keys appear. Where paths were closed, light breaks through. Where hope was buried, resurrection begins. You are stepping into a season where the very things that once resisted you will now recognize you. Heaven has signed the release order. For years you looked at your reflection and saw exhaustion, confusion, disappointment. But heaven looked at you and saw resilience, faith, and readiness. You may not have felt qualified, but your scars became the proof of endurance. Heaven does not promote the comfortable, it promotes the proven. You have been proven. Every test you endured was not random. It was evidence gathering for this very moment. Tonight, There is movement in the spirit realm. The angels assigned to your destiny are standing at attention. Every tear you've sown has become currency in heaven's economy. The prayers you whispered through shaking lips are now echoing before the throne. The delay has expired. The divine order has been spoken. It is time. Chosen one. Do not measure this moment by the natural. In the natural, it may look like nothing changed, but in the supernatural, everything has shifted. Heaven's timeline operates beyond your perception. When you said yes, even through fear, you unlocked something irreversible. Every obedient step you took in darkness has lit a pathway in the unseen. Heaven's clock was waiting for your agreement. Now it moves. There are alignments forming that you didn't orchestrate, conversations being held about you in places you've never entered, ideas being planted in hearts that will soon connect to your mission. God has been orchestrating this convergence quietly, moving puzzle pieces into place until the picture was complete. That's why the delay hurt. It was the sound of heaven finishing your preparation. As was written in the ancient wisdom of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 1, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." Oh, your time is not just coming, it has arrived. The appointed season is not approaching, it has opened. The rhythm of heaven is pulsing through your veins, and all creation feels the shift. You've been marked for a moment that carries eternal weight. What others call coincidence, heaven calls confirmation. You must understand this. The transition will not come with noise, but with knowing. It may not look spectacular, it will feel divine. A quiet assurance will settle in your spirit. The peace that says, "It's finally time." That peace is not imaginary. It's the signal that heaven has begun to move in your favor. So, don't look for fireworks, look for flow. Things will begin to align easily. What was once exhausting will suddenly move smoothly. The resistance will fade because the season of struggle has served its purpose. You are not fighting for favor anymore, you are walking in it. The favor that once seemed out of reach will now chase you. Chosen one. When heaven's clock strikes, it never turns back. Every yes, every tear, every prayer has synchronized with divine purpose. This is why your spirit feels unsettled. It's not anxiety. It's awakening. The time that seemed wasted is being redeemed in one divine motion. The same God who let you wait is the God who now whispers, "Go forth." Take this word into your soul. Acceleration is not chaos, it's clarity. When you align with heaven's pace, everything that belongs to you begins to run toward you. People will ask how everything changed so fast. And you will smile. Because you know it wasn't fast, it was right on time. Before you continue reading, mark this moment publicly and prophetically. Comment, "It is time," and write it as a declaration, not a wish. Let heaven see your agreement written in faith. When you declare those 3 words, you're not typing a phrase, you're sealing a covenant. You're saying, "God, I align with your timing. I will not rush ahead or fall behind. I receive what is appointed." And this is more than a season, it is a shift in the rhythm of your existence. The same God who kept you through 10 years of silence is now inviting you to dance to the sound of destiny. And as you move in sync with his timing, everything that once felt delayed will unfold with divine precision. Heaven's clock has struck. Chosen one. It's not coming, it's here. The hidden weight you've carried. Chosen one. You have walked with a quiet heaviness that few could see, and even fewer could understand. For years, you've smiled, while something deep inside you ached. You've been the strong one, the dependable one, the listener, the anchor, and yet, behind closed doors, there were nights when even your own strength frightened you because you didn't know how much longer it could last. What no one realized was that your strength was not born of pride, but of purpose. You were never just surviving, you were enduring divine training. The weight you've carried has been both invisible and holy. Heaven trusted you with burdens that would have crushed others because your spirit was built differently. You carried people's pain as if it were your own. You prayed for others when no one prayed for you. You comforted others while secretly bleeding inside. Chosen one. The truth is that God does not give the strongest battles to the strongest people. He gives them to the chosen vessels that can carry his heart. The crushing was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to extract the oil of anointing from your life. You have been pressed like olives in a sacred garden. Crushed, not for punishment, but for purpose. The pain you've endured has purified your motives, deepened your compassion, and awakened your discernment. There were days you wanted to run from your assignment. You looked at others living carefree lives and wondered why your path was so heavy, so lonely, so misunderstood. But God does not call the ordinary to carry extraordinary purpose. You were not meant to fit in, you were meant to stand out. The weight you've carried was not a curse, it was a calling wrapped in mystery. Even now, heaven whispers that your hidden heaviness was never unnoticed. While others misjudged your silence, heaven recorded every moment. Every time you swallowed your pain to protect someone else's peace, the angels wrote it down. Every time you gave, when you had nothing left, the heavens took note. Every sacrifice has been seen, and the reward has already begun its journey toward you. There is something sacred about people who continue to love when they've been wounded. That's you. You have loved through betrayal, believed through disappointment, and remained kind when cruelty would have been easier. Heaven calls such souls rare and chosen, for it is not the untested who shine brightest. It is those who have walked through shadow and still chosen the light. You may think your heart is tired, but what you feel is transformation. The weight you carried was a cocoon. You mistook the struggle for stagnation, when in truth, you were being reshaped for flight. The heaviness was heaven's way of expanding your capacity for glory. What felt like burden was actually preparation for authority. You are being trusted with more because you proved faithful with little. You've been asking God, "Why me?" But heaven answers, because you were willing to stay when others left, willing to believe when hope was thin, willing to forgive when it hurt. That willingness made you powerful in ways the world cannot measure. And now, as you step into this new season, the weight begins to lift. The yoke that once pressed on your shoulders becomes light, because it has fulfilled its purpose. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 11, verse 28, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." Oh, this is the invitation heaven extends to you now, not just to rest from exhaustion, but to rest in identity. You no longer have to prove your worth by carrying everything alone. You are not meant to save everyone, only to shine the light that leads them towards salvation. The burden was never yours to bear forever. It was yours to understand. When you finally release what you've carried, you will feel the shift. The air around you will change. Lighter, brighter, alive. The same strength that once held your pain will now hold your purpose. The empathy you gain through suffering will become your superpower, the ability to see brokenness and bring healing where others only bring judgment. Do not regret the wait. It shaped you into someone trustworthy with divine authority. You have learned to hear heaven in the silence, to see purpose in pain, to feel the heartbeat of God in every season. What once burdened you has become your ministry. The oil of endurance drips from your life, and it will anoint others to rise as you have risen. You are stepping into a lighter season, not because the world changed, but because you did. The hidden weight has served its purpose, and heaven releases you from it now. You are not what the pain tried to make you. You are what the pain revealed you to be. Chosen, refined, unstoppable. The enemy's last attempt. Chosen one. You've noticed it lately, the strange resistance, the sudden waves of discouragement, the voices that whisper, "You're too late," or "Nothing's changing." It's not your imagination. It's the last flicker of a war that heaven has already won. The enemy always fights hardest, right before he loses his grip. What you're feeling is not defeat. It's the tension of breakthrough pressing through the veil. When dawn begins to stretch her first light across the horizon, darkness panics. It knows it has only a few moments left before it must retreat. That's what's happening in your life right now. The shadows are trembling because your light is beginning to rise. You've endured nights that seemed endless, but heaven says the morning is closer than it's ever been. The chaos you feel is not random, it's reaction. The enemy knows your season of silence has ended, and he's desperate to distract you before the shift fully arrives. You've come too far to let old fears pull you back. Remember how many times you thought it was over, yet here you stand. You are still breathing, still believing, still chosen. The same God who carried you through every storm is the same one standing beside you now, calm amid the final winds. Sometimes the battle doesn't rage because you're doing something wrong. It rages because you're about to do something right. The enemy doesn't attack empty hands. He attacks those who carry fire. You've been marked by heaven, and that mark draws resistance, but it also draws victory. You're not under attack because you're weak. You're under attack because you're a threat. Heaven watches this moment carefully, because your endurance is rewriting stories. Others who thought they were finished will find courage again through your persistence. Every blow that tried to silence you is becoming part of your testimony. Every tear that fell in darkness is watering the field of someone else's freedom, as was spoken through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 17. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. And those words aren't just protection, they're prophecy. They mean the enemy's weapons may form, but they will fail. They may appear powerful, but they carry no permission to prosper. Every plan designed to derail you will only serve to confirm your destiny. What was meant to break you will broadcast your strength. The battle has never been about your past, it's about your potential. Picture yourself as a lighthouse standing against a storm. The waves crash. The wind screams. But your light refuses to flicker. You were built for this exact moment, to shine when visibility is low, to stand firm when everything around you shakes. That's what faith looks like when the war intensifies. It doesn't mean you don't feel fear. It means you refuse to surrender to it. You might wonder, why now? Why? When I was finally healing. Because the enemy always throws his final strike when he senses restoration. But even that is orchestrated by heaven's design to prove that what once wounded you no longer defines you. You've become stronger than your storm. You've learned to recognize the difference between an attack and a test, between pressure and preparation. And when the storm quiets, and it will, you'll realize something profound. The enemy's attack was the announcement of your arrival. The closer you move toward purpose, the louder fear becomes. But fear has one weakness: it cannot survive light. So, keep your light burning. Chosen one, the night cannot withstand your radiance. Now, take a breath. Look at how far you've come. You're not the same person who began this journey 10 years ago. You are wiser, gentler, stronger. You've learned the rhythm of grace, the power of surrender, the patience of hope. You've learned that sometimes victory doesn't look like noise, it looks like peace. And if these words find you at a crossroads, let them remind you that you're not alone. You are part of a vast, unseen army of chosen ones, each standing, each shining, each carrying a spark of divine fire. When you share your light, you multiply it. When you speak your truth, you release others from silence. When you support the messages that keep this light moving, you're not just pressing a button, you're helping to send torches into the darkest corners of the world. So, if this message resonates deep in your spirit, if you feel heaven's whisper confirming it's for you, take a gentle step of faith. Like this word so it shines further. Share it as an act of light to reach someone still trapped in their night. And subscribe, not for the noise of algorithms, but to stay connected to the flow of divine reminders meant to strengthen you on your journey. Every click, every share, every heartbeat of faith echoes beyond screens. You're not just part of a community, you're part of a movement of light bearers standing together against the dark. Chosen one, lift your eyes. The storm is not your end, it's your announcement. And as the winds fade, your light will not just survive, it will spread. The prophetic signal, chosen one. Have you ever noticed how heaven speaks in patterns, sometimes through whispers, sometimes through moments that repeat, sometimes through numbers that seem to follow you everywhere? There is a rhythm to divine communication, a language that bypasses logic and speaks directly to the spirit. Tonight, that language is stirring again. Heaven is sending signals, and your spirit is already beginning to recognize them. You have felt it lately, haven't you? That strange sense that something invisible is guiding you, certain words catching your attention, certain moments feeling strangely significant, certain coincidences aligning in ways too perfect to explain. These are not accidents, they are signals. The divine is marking your path with breadcrumbs of light, so you never forget that you are guided, guarded, and grounded in purpose. Heaven communicates through symbols, because symbols carry eternity inside them. When God speaks in numbers, He is speaking in code, simple yet profound. The same way stars form constellations to guide sailors across dark waters, heaven aligns signals to guide your journey through uncertainty. Tonight, one such signal shines brightly over your life. You've reached a divine intersection where alignment becomes visible. Everything that seemed disconnected begins to form a pattern. Your spirit recognizes what your eyes cannot yet see. You're not imagining it, something holy is unfolding. The whispers you've heard in prayer, the dreams you've half remembered, the verses that seem to find you again and again, they are all part of the same message. You are being marked. As was written in the sacred Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 27, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." And that is what this moment is about, recognizing the shepherd's voice in the chaos. The world is noisy, but his tone is always distinct. It doesn't sound like pressure or fear. It sounds like peace that cuts through confusion. That peace is speaking to you now, confirming what your soul has suspected for weeks. Heaven is preparing to reveal something undeniable. There will be signs following this word, subtle confirmations designed only for you. It might be a repeated number, a song that suddenly holds new meaning, or a message from someone unexpected. Whatever form it takes, your spirit will know. Heaven always personalizes its confirmations to ensure there is no mistake. These divine signals are heaven's fingerprints, proof that your journey is divinely supervised. Nothing you have gone through was random. Even detours were pre-written paths leading you toward divine alignment. God never improvises, he orchestrates. The moments you thought were wasted were simply pauses between symphonies, and tonight, the music begins again. So if you find yourself noticing alignment doors opening that once stayed locked, people reappearing who carry unfinished purpose, peace returning where confusion once lived, know this: you are in sync with heaven's rhythm. You are walking the invisible path that few recognize but all chosen ones eventually find. When the signals start to appear more frequently, don't be afraid. Don't overthink. Simply acknowledge and respond with gratitude. That act of awareness strengthens the connection between your heart and heaven. The more you notice, the clearer the voice becomes. You may be wondering, why numbers? Because numbers carry prophetic resonance. They are the language of divine order. When you see a number repeat, heaven is emphasizing truth. It's not superstition, it's synchronization. Every number carries energy, meaning, and movement. Tonight, heaven releases one such number over you, a symbol of divine favor and spiritual awakening. That number is 888. 8 is the number of new beginnings, resurrection, and divine overflow. And when heaven triples it, it becomes a seal, a heavenly echo declaring that everything connected to you is entering renewal. Old cycles are breaking, and divine favor is multiplying. It is the numeric sound of heaven saying, "Start again," but this time in strength. Oh, so, right now, chosen one. Pause for a moment and mark your agreement with heaven. Comment 888 as your declaration of new beginnings. Don't do it out of routine. Do it in reverence. Each 888 typed below becomes like a spark in the spirit realm, signaling your yes to divine renewal. As you type, whisper within yourself, "I align with heaven's timing. I receive my new beginning." You're not just posting digits, you're participating in prophecy. The number is not a charm, it's a covenant. A reminder that heaven still speaks, and that you are still listening. And as you move through the coming days, remain attentive. Watch how the universe echoes your obedience. Watch how clarity replaces confusion. How peace follows you like a shadow. How new doors open without your striving. The prophetic signal has gone forth. and heaven's frequency is tuned to your heart. Chosen one. You are seen. You are guided. You are heard. The signs were never random. They were the handwriting of heaven, spelling your name across time. Your name in the fire. Chosen one. There are moments in every destiny where comfort ends and refinement begins. You have reached such a moment. For years you have asked heaven to strengthen you, to bless you, to lift you, but strength is not granted in stillness. It is forged in flame. The seasons that scorched you were not sent to destroy you, but to reveal what could not burn. You were placed in the fire not because you were weak, but because you were ready. The fire was God's classroom. It stripped away illusions. It purified intentions. It burned away what could not accompany you into the next season. Every trial was a forge. Every heartbreak, a hammer. Every delay, a flame, licking away the impurities that tried to cling to your soul. You may not have recognized it then, but the fire had purpose. It exposed who truly stood beside you, revealed what truly mattered, and reminded you of the unshakable within you. The heat you endured was not punishment, it was purification. When gold is refined, it is heated until every impurity rises to the surface. The gold does not protest, because it understands that the fire proves its worth. You, chosen one, are that gold. There were moments when you begged for the flame to stop, when you cried out, "God, I can't take any more." Yet the flame continued not to harm you, but to harden your faith until it became unbending. You didn't realize that heaven was whispering through the heat, "Stay still. I'm making you indestructible." No. As was spoken in the sacred writings of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 2. When you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, and the flames shall not set you ablaze. No, that verse is not metaphor, it is testimony. You have walked through fires that should have destroyed you, yet here you stand. You lost things, yes, but you never lost yourself. That is the miracle. The fire removed what was temporary so that only the eternal could remain. The friendships that ended, the dreams that died, the chapters that closed, they were the ashes of things that could not survive your next level. You may not have seen it, but even in your hottest moments of pain, heaven was near. Angels stood in the flames beside you, unseen but undeniable. You were never abandoned, only refined. The fire became your initiation into authority. It marked you as one who can stand in the middle of chaos and still carry peace. You learned how to breathe holy air even when the world around you burned. The fire was not random, it was recognition. Heaven only refines what it intends to use greatly. You have been entrusted with resilience because your story will comfort others still walking through their flames. You carry the scent of smoke as proof of survival, not defeat. When people look at you, they will sense the depth of someone who has seen heat and still chosen hope. Chosen one. The truth is, the fire revealed the shape of your calling. Some were called to comfort. You were called to confront darkness. The reason your fire burned hotter was because your light needed to shine brighter. Every lesson carved into your soul through the flame will soon serve as guidance for those wandering in their own shadows. You are living evidence that the fire does not kill, it transforms. Now, as the embers fade, something sacred emerges. The ashes beneath your feet are not remnants of ruin, they are soil for new life. From those ashes, beauty will rise. The fire was heaven's sculptor, and now the sculpture stands complete. The edges are smoother, the heart is purer, the spirit unbreakable. You no longer fear the flames because you've discovered their secret. They reveal truth. You've learned that when life burns away what you thought you needed, it leaves behind what you truly are, and what remains is holy. Take a moment and breathe deeply. The air feels lighter now because you have shed layers of pain that no longer belong to you. The same hands that allowed the fire now cool the ashes. Heaven wipes the soot from your spirit and whispers, "You made it through. Too. You are walking proof that survival is sacred. You are evidence that refinement is mercy in disguise. And from this day forward, when others see you, they will not see what you lost, they will see what the fire could not consume." The shift in the spirit realm, chosen one. While the world sleeps, another realm stirs. What the natural eye cannot see, the spirit already senses. Tonight, the unseen is alive, with motion threads of destiny being pulled tight, ancient promises being stirred awake, and angelic hosts taking new formation. You may not hear the sound, but your spirit feels it, a quiet trembling in the atmosphere, a holy unease that whispers, something is moving. This is not imagination. It is the awareness of transition. You are crossing the invisible bridge between almost and arrived. Heaven's order is rearranging around you, and your obedience has triggered the shift. The warfare you felt recently was not punishment, it was proof. It meant the alignment had begun, and resistance was trying to stop it. Every great shift starts in the unseen long before it manifests in the seen. Imagine the ocean before a storm. To those standing on the shore, it looks calm, but beneath the surface, currents rage. Unseen forces pulling and rearranging the deep. That is what your life feels like right now. The surface may appear still, yet beneath it, heaven's current moves with unstoppable strength. You are standing at the edge of spiritual transformation, and everything around you is adjusting to make room for your new authority. The Spirit whispers that this shaking is not chaos, it's calibration. Heaven is adjusting the frequency of your life, tuning it to match the vibration of your calling. The discomfort you feel is the sound of your soul stretching to accommodate more glory. The shift may feel like loss, but it is actually alignment. When the spirit realm shifts, what no longer belongs begins to fall away. Don't fight what's leaving. It's being moved by divine hands. Chosen one. This shift carries weight. The angels assigned to your destiny are repositioning. Some are taking new stations, preparing the path ahead of you. There are prayers you prayed years ago that are now being reactivated. They were never forgotten. They were waiting for this frequency, this precise moment in spiritual time. The timing of heaven is perfection, and it moves with the rhythm of obedience. As was written in the book of Psalms by David, chapter 91, verse 11, "For he shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways." You are part of something larger than your own understanding. The spirit realm moves in harmony with heaven's decrees. And when one chosen soul obeys, ripples form that touch generations. Your yes did not just shift your future, it altered the trajectory of those connected to you. Somewhere, someone will find freedom because you refuse to give up. Somewhere, a door will open because you held your ground in prayer. You have become a living key in heaven's design. When the realm shifts, sensitivity becomes your compass. You will begin to notice things differently. Small promptings, sudden peace, new directions whispered into your heart. Don't dismiss them. They are divine signals, guiding you toward precise encounters. Heaven never shouts when a whisper will do. Listen closely, and you'll feel when to move, when to wait, when to speak, and when to stay silent. This shift also brings exposure. Everything hidden will surface, not to shame you, but to cleanse what cannot continue into the next chapter. Old fears, buried wounds, hidden motives, they rise not to haunt you, but to heal you. The fire of God's presence is sweeping through your life like wind through tall grass, burning away what is no longer aligned. The ground will look bare for a moment, but soon new growth will appear, pure, resilient, eternal, chosen one. Do not fear the shaking. What is falling apart is simply making space for what is being built. The walls of the old season must crumble before the new foundation can rise. This is not destruction, it's rebirth. You are being shifted from survival into sovereignty, from carrying the promise to becoming the fulfillment of it. Take a deep breath. The air feels charged because heaven is near. You stand in the middle of an unseen rearrangement, but everything is under divine control. The Spirit is whispering calm into your storm, order into your chaos, and faith into your trembling. The realm around you moves not to harm, but to heal, not to confuse, but to confirm. What is happening right now is sacred. The ground beneath you hums with the energy of new creation. Even your silence is holy, because in it, heaven listens for your agreement. The shift has begun, and whether you see it or not, the entire spirit realm has taken note. One of God's chosen has awakened, the voice that breaks silence. Chosen one. You have waited long enough for clarity. The silence you once mistook for absence is about to break, and the voice you've longed to hear is already near. Heaven does not always speak in thunder. Sometimes it whispers in stillness. Tonight, that whisper finds you. The waiting, the confusion, the unanswered prayers, all of it was leading to this moment where heaven finally says, "Listen, you are not being called to guess anymore." The season of uncertainty ends when revelation begins. For months, perhaps years, you've asked, "God, what do you want from me? What's next?" And the heavens seemed closed, the sky unresponsive. But what felt like silence was actually the sound of preparation. The divine voice doesn't shout when the heart isn't ready. It waits until the soil is soft enough for truth to take root. Tonight, your heart is that soil. The divine voice is not loud, it is layered. It comes as peace, as conviction, as gentle repetition. Sometimes it's disguised in a conversation, a dream, or a sudden phrase that won't leave your spirit alone. You recognize it not by volume, but by weight. When God speaks, it lingers. It doesn't rush through you, it roots within you. You might recall the child Samuel, sleeping in the temple, hearing his name called, but not recognizing the voice. It took guidance to understand who was speaking. In the same way, you are awakening to recognition. You've heard this voice before when you were comforted after heartbreak, when you avoided a path that would have harmed you, when peace came unexpectedly in chaos. That was him. the same voice returns tonight, steady and unmistakable, as it is written in the ancient book of 1 Samuel, chapter 3, verse 10. Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. Those words are not a story from long ago. They are an invitation for right now. Heaven speaks when humility listens. The key is not in demanding answers, but in quiet surrender. When your soul says, "I'm ready," heaven replies, "Then listen." No, there is a message being released to you, even now, something deeply personal, something no human could have known to say. It may come as a sudden realization, a memory that feels anointed, or a line in this very moment that pierces deeper than the rest. That is your word. When you feel that pulse in your spirit, that warmth in your chest, that's heaven marking the message as yours. The silence has ended. God is speaking about direction, restoration, and realignment. Some of what he says may surprise you, even challenge you. It will not always be what you want to hear, but it will always be what you need to hear. Truth liberates, even when it stings. The divine voice doesn't flatter, it frees. Chosen one. Understand that hearing God's voice is not just about information, it's about transformation. The moment he speaks, something inside you shifts. Confusion loses power. Fear dissolves. The fog clears, and purpose takes shape again. You are reminded of who you are and why you're here. The voice that called stars into being is calling your name again, breathing fresh life into your weary soul. And when you hear that instruction, whether it's to move, to let go, to trust, or to rest, do not delay. Obedience is the echo heaven listens for. When you respond, the entire realm around you adjusts to support that obedience. Heaven doesn't just speak, it synchronizes everything to align with your yes. Right now, heaven is listening for your response. If this word stirs something deep in you, if you can sense that divine whisper moving through your spirit, don't overthink it. Just respond. Comment, "I hear you." That simple phrase is not for the algorithm, it's for alignment. When you type it, you are declaring to heaven, "I'm listening now. No more running. No more doubting. No more pretending not to hear." It's a prophetic act of surrender, a written echo of Samuel's response thousands of years ago. It tells God, "You have my attention." When you write those words, you plant a seed in the unseen. Every "I hear you" becomes a testimony in the spirit realm that another chosen one has awakened. Heaven rejoices not in noise, but in recognition. So pause for a moment, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and allow the quiet to become sacred. The noise of the world may surround you, but within you, peace is forming. You're not waiting for the voice anymore, it's already here. Soft but strong, personal yet powerful. The voice that breaks silence has come not to confuse you, but to confirm you, not to control you, but to call you closer. From this night forward, you will no longer question. If God speaks, you will recognize his tone, his timing, his tenderness. Your destiny reintroduces itself. Chosen one. There comes a sacred point in every life when destiny steps out from the shadows and reintroduces itself not as a dream, but as a living presence. It does not knock politely. It walks straight into your awareness and says, Remember me? I am who you were always meant to become. Tonight, that moment finds you. For so long, your destiny waited patiently in the corners of your choices, whispering through your longings, your strengths, your tears. It never disappeared. It simply waited for your readiness. And now, the person you've become through pain and perseverance finally matches the calling that was written over your life before time began. You are no longer chasing purpose, you are embodying it. As the prophet Jeremiah declared in the sacred writings, chapter 1, verse 5, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Those words were not written for the ancient alone. They are whispered to you right now. Heaven has always known you. Every detail of who you are, your laughter, your flaws, your sensitivity, your strength was designed for the exact role you are stepping into. You were never an afterthought. You are an intentional design, a divine solution to a problem this generation did not even know it had. There were years when you questioned whether you missed your chance, when you thought too much time had passed or too many mistakes had been made. But destiny is not fragile. It does not expire. It waits. It adjusts. It follows you like a river beneath the surface, ready to rise again the moment you align your heart. And now, that current is breaking through the ground. Destiny is not found in grand gestures. It lives in the quiet decisions of obedience. It speaks through your compassion, your creativity, your willingness to love when it's easier to hate. The purpose of your life has never been about fame or validation. It's about becoming light where darkness once reigned. Your presence itself is ministry. Your story itself, a message. Tonight, heaven is reintroducing you to you. The real you, the one untouched by disappointment, unbroken by fear, unstained by doubt. That version has always been there, waiting behind the layers of survival. You've been peeling back the years of pretending, and now the original design finally stands in full view. You might not recognize yourself at first. The reflection looks familiar, but freer, softer, stronger. That's because pain has polished you into clarity. The storms didn't ruin you, they revealed you. Every scar became scripture. Every failure became formation. You have become someone who carries wisdom with gentleness and strength with humility. Destiny is not loud, but it is luminous. When you walk in it, peace becomes your pace. You stop competing and start completing. You stop chasing approval and start fulfilling assignment. The pieces of your past that once felt random now fit like puzzle fragments in the story of grace. It's time to stop mourning what didn't happen and start embracing what is happening. The door you thought closed forever was simply waiting for you to grow tall enough to reach the handle. The things that once terrified you no longer hold the same power, because destiny has restored your vision. You see differently now, not through fear, but through faith. And if these words are finding a deep echo within you, let that be your confirmation. Sometimes, heaven sends a message through a voice, a video, a sentence that sounds strangely personal. That's not coincidence, it's recognition. Your destiny has found your frequency again. Before you move on, take a moment to let gratitude rise. Because what you are feeling right now, the warmth, the clarity, the quiet certainty, is heaven's reminder that you are still on track. And if this message touches your heart, if it feels like sunlight breaking through the clouds of confusion, Then help that light travel further. Like this message, not as a gesture of support, but as an act of agreement. I see who I am becoming. When you share, you're not spreading content, you're spreading awakening. Someone out there needs to remember who they are, just like you did. And when you subscribe, you're not joining a channel, you're stepping into a rhythm of divine reminders designed to keep your spirit aligned with purpose. Every click becomes a ripple. Every share becomes a seed. Every act of engagement is an act of faith, a small flame that joins others until the world begins to glow with understanding. Chosen one. Destiny has never been lost, only waiting. And now it looks you in the eyes again and says, "You're ready." The battle for your obedience. Chosen one. Few battles are as fierce as the one that happens inside the heart when obedience is required. It is quiet, yet brutal. Invisible, yet all-consuming. You know this battle well, the struggle between what feels safe and what feels sacred, between what is familiar and what is faithful. Heaven calls you forward, but comfort begs you to stay. You stand between two worlds, the one you've survived, and the one you were created to build. The warfare you feel is not meant to destroy you, it's meant to distract you. Doubt whispers, "What if you're wrong?" Fear adds, "What if you fail?" And pride softly mutters, "You don't have to change yet." These voices come not from wisdom, but from weariness. But the Spirit's voice is different. It doesn't shout. It calls gently, persistently, through peace. The truth is, obedience is costly. It requires you to leave behind the predictable and step into the unseen. It demands surrender before understanding, movement before clarity. But obedience also carries a hidden gift, freedom. When you say yes, even trembling, chains break, chains of stagnation, of confusion, of spiritual heaviness. You cannot step into divine acceleration while holding the weight of hesitation. You've been here before, haven't you? Standing in the quiet, knowing what needs to be done, but hoping for another confirmation, another sign, another delay to soften the decision. Yet every delay has only added pressure to the promise waiting for release. Heaven's clock is ticking in rhythm with your heartbeat, whispering, "Now." 1. As written in the book of James, chapter 4, verse 7. Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. 1. Submission is not weakness, it is alignment. When you bow to divine will, you rise in divine power. Every act of obedience weakens the hold of darkness and strengthens the authority of light within you. You are not giving up control, you are exchanging it for clarity. The battle for your obedience is holy because it reveals who truly sits on the throne of your heart. You cannot serve both fear and faith, both pride and purpose. One must yield. That yielding is painful. It feels like loss, but it births something sacred, peace that surpasses understanding. There are things heaven has been holding for you, waiting for your next step. The moment you obey, those things will begin to move. It may not look dramatic, it may start quietly, like seeds breaking open underground. But soon, new growth will pierce through the soil of your surrender. Obedience is not the end of struggle, it is the beginning of momentum. Chosen one. This war inside you is not just about one decision, it's about your identity. You are being asked to remember who you are and whom you serve. The world tells you to follow comfort, but heaven asks you to follow calling. And though calling feels heavier, it leads to joy that comfort could never give. There is no partial obedience in heaven's language. Half measures delay full blessings. You cannot hold on to the old and reach for the new at the same time. At some point, your hands must let go. The weight you feel is not from the future, it's from clinging to the past. If you have wondered why peace has felt distant, it's because peace waits on the other side of obedience. The Spirit never stops calling, it simply waits for you to answer. Every whisper, every nudge, every repeated confirmation is heaven's way of saying, "Trust me this time." Now, look back at your journey. Every time you obeyed, even when it didn't make sense, something beautiful followed. Maybe not immediately, but eventually, doors opened, peace returned, provision appeared. The same pattern will happen again, because heaven is consistent. What changes is your level of trust. This is not a call to perfection, but to surrender. God is not looking for flawless execution. He is looking for willing hearts. Even a trembling yes carries more power than a confident no. What heaven desires most is your willingness to move when called. And when you do, when your will aligns with divine purpose, the battle ceases. The storm quiets. The resistance melts, because obedience ends confusion. So, stand still for a moment and listen. The battle for your obedience is nearing its end. The decision you've been avoiding is the doorway you've been praying for. Heaven is not asking for explanation, only for trust. And once you give it, the path ahead will glow with clarity. The war inside your soul will settle. Not because you fought harder, but because you finally surrendered. That is the paradox of power in the kingdom. You win by yielding. The Midnight Covenant, chosen one. Midnight has always been more than a time. It is a threshold. It stands between what was and what will be, between endings and beginnings. It is the hour when heaven rewrites stories and seals promises unseen by human eyes. Tonight, heaven is extending its hand again, not to demand, but to invite. This is the hour of covenant, the quiet, holy agreement between your spirit and God. You may not hear trumpets or thunder, yet something sacred stirs around you. Midnight has always been the meeting place of divine exchange. It is the hour when those who stay awake in faith are marked by what others miss in sleep. Heaven leans close in this darkness, not to frighten you, but to speak secrets reserved only for those who endure the night. As was spoken through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 55, verse 3, "I will make an everlasting covenant with you. My faithful love promised to David." Oh, this is what heaven is whispering now, the same love that sustained kings, prophets, and dreamers is the love that now surrounds you. You are not a spectator of ancient miracles, you are the continuation of them. The same covenant that turned shepherds into rulers, wanderers into leaders, and outcasts into messengers is now unfolding in your story. At midnight, the unseen world takes inventory. Angels stand as witnesses, recording who still believes. When the world grows silent, you, chosen one, are one of them. You've remained steadfast even when hope thinned. You've chosen faith when evidence vanished. And heaven takes note of every yes whispered in darkness. This covenant is different from the ones people make with each other. It's not a contract that can be broken by fear or failure. It's an exchange of trust. your surrender for His strength, your uncertainty for His direction. The old version of you made promises. This version of you enters partnership. It is not about striving to earn favor, but allowing favor to carry you. Every true covenant is sealed with a symbol. In ancient times, it was fire, blood, or sacrifice. Tonight, heaven marks it differently with peace. You will know this covenant has been sealed because the restlessness will lift. The heaviness you've carried for years will begin to fade, and a deep calm will settle in its place. That calm is not the absence of struggle, it's the presence of divine assurance. The midnight covenant also carries responsibility. Heaven is not signing you up for a passive blessing, but for partnership in purpose. You are being entrusted with more influence, more revelation, more spiritual authority. This covenant is a commissioning. It says, "What I poured into you in pain, you will now pour out in purpose." So when tomorrow comes and you feel that subtle shift in your heart, a lighter step, a stronger sense of direction, remember this night. You are no longer wandering, you are walking in agreement. Heaven and earth have aligned in your story. But before you step forward, heaven asks for a sign, a prophetic act that echoes your yes in the spirit realm, not because God needs proof, but because your declaration sends ripples through unseen dimensions. It announces, "I accept the covenant." 1. The number chosen for this night is 444. 4 is the number of divine order and stability. When it repeats, it becomes the signature of heaven's establishment. It represents foundation, earthly and spiritual, firmly aligned under God's authority. 444 declares that what was once unstable will now stand secure, that the structure of your destiny has been anchored in divine alignment. So, right now, take a moment and mark your covenant in faith. Comment 444. Let it be your symbolic signature, your amen to heaven's invitation. As your fingers move to type those numbers, imagine them as an echo through eternity, a declaration that you are ready to build what heaven has designed. This isn't superstition, it's symbolism. Just as Abraham built altars, just as Jacob raised stones, you are leaving a mark in time that heaven will remember. The number becomes your altar, and your obedience becomes the flame. When you write 444, you are saying, "I stand in agreement with divine order. I receive my place in God's blueprint. I walk forward under heaven's covenant." No. And from this night on, something subtle but powerful will change. Doors that resisted you will recognize your authority. Peace will replace striving. What felt scattered will come together, perfectly measured and balanced by unseen hands. This midnight is not like others. It is a divine handshake between heaven and your spirit. The covenant has been written in light and sealed with your yes. You will not walk alone again, for heaven now walks beside you in visible and invisible ways. Chosen one, your midnight has become morning. The covenant stands unbroken, eternal, alive within you. You are the fulfillment, chosen one. There comes a time when prayers stop being future tense and start breathing through your life. You have reached that time. What others longed to see, what generations before you hoped for, now unfolds through you. You are not merely a witness to prophecy, you are its fulfillment. The words spoken long ago, whispered through generations, have found a vessel willing to live them out. You have walked through seasons of silence, wondering why the promises spoken over your life seemed delayed. But heaven was never ignoring you, it was aligning you. You were being shaped to fit the magnitude of the promise. The blessing was too heavy for a hurried heart, too sacred for untested hands. The waiting was divine timing, wrapping itself around your destiny like a cocoon around transformation. As was written in the sacred letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 19. The earnest expectation of the creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons of God. And creation itself has been waiting for your awakening. Every tree, every breeze, every sunrise carries a silent knowing that someone chosen, someone prepared, would one day step forward to embody what heaven promised. That someone is you. You may not feel like fulfillment. You may feel ordinary, fragile, still healing from too much loss. But that is exactly what qualifies you. Heaven delights in revealing glory through those who have known brokenness, because only those who've been shattered understand the beauty of restoration. Your scars have become evidence that God redeems completely. You are living proof that nothing is wasted. The roads that twisted, the prayers that seemed unanswered, the doors that stayed shut, they all form the pattern of divine orchestration. What once confused you now fits perfectly into purpose. The chapters you wish to skip have become the very foundation of your authority. You speak not from theory, but from survival. You lead not from pride, but from empathy. Chosen one. Fulfillment is not a single moment. It's a continuous unfolding. Each day that you choose forgiveness over bitterness, faith over fear, obedience over comfort, you are fulfilling prophecy. Each act of kindness, each word of truth spoken in love, ripples through eternity. You may not see it yet, but your obedience is shifting entire bloodlines. Generational curses are breaking simply because you chose to believe. You are walking evidence that God finishes what He starts. When others gave up, you held on. When hope felt distant, you whispered prayers anyway. Heaven counted every one of those moments as building blocks of fulfillment. You were never forgotten. You were being formed. Look at how the story has turned. The very pain that once silenced you has now become your message. The places that once represented loss now echo with life. The same valley where you once wept has become the altar where gratitude burns. This is fulfillment, not perfection, but transformation. What heaven spoke over your life will not return void. The timing of fulfillment is never rushed. It arrives like morning light, quiet but unstoppable. You don't need to strive to make it happen. You only need to stay aligned. Fulfillment flows to those who remain rooted in faith. The world around you may not understand the shift taking place, but heaven does. Angels recognize it. The atmosphere adjusts to it. Everything that once resisted you begins to yield. Because you are walking in your appointed rhythm, you no longer chase destiny. Destiny walks beside you. There will be days ahead when you'll feel the weight of this responsibility, the awareness that your life now carries the echo of divine intention. But that weight is not meant to crush you. It's meant to anchor you. Fulfillment is not a crown of pride. It's a mantle of service. What you've received must now flow outward. You become the answered prayer for someone else. And perhaps that's the most humbling truth of all. You are not just being blessed, you are becoming the blessing. The same way light travels without words. Your presence will begin to carry peace into rooms, clarity into confusion, hope into despair. You are fulfillment in motion. A living reminder that God is faithful even when time feels cruel. So breathe. Rest in this revelation. The waiting has done its work. The promise has found its vessel. The fulfillment has begun, not with noise, but with quiet certainty. You are not on the edge of your story. You are standing in the middle of prophecy realized, and somewhere in the unseen, heaven smiles, not because you've arrived, but because you finally understand what you are, the living continuation of divine intention, the answer to generations of faith, the fulfillment of what was always written. Mercy meets majesty. Chosen one. There is a sacred collision happening within you, the meeting place of mercy and majesty. Mercy remembers every wound you've carried, and majesty reminds you that you were never defined by those wounds. The two embrace inside your soul like sunrise meeting the remnants of night. The past that once chained you now becomes the platform from which grace shines brightest. You have seen both the tenderness and the terror of divine love. You've felt the kind of mercy that picked you up when you had nothing left. And you've glimpsed the majesty that commands galaxies, yet still cares for your smallest tear. These two aspects of God are not opposites, they are complements. Mercy lifts you from the ashes. Majesty crowns you once you've risen. Together, they reveal your true identity. Redeemed royalty. There was a time when you didn't believe you were worthy of such grace. Shame had become a language, and guilt had built a home in your heart. You replayed failures like a broken record, forgetting that the record had already been rewritten in heaven's archives. Mercy stepped in and silenced the accusations, whispering, "You are forgiven. Walk free." As was written in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 9, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Those words are not simply comfort, they are revelation. The very weaknesses you once hid are becoming the spaces through which power flows. God never needed your perfection, He desired your permission. By allowing mercy to enter those fractured places, you made room for majesty to dwell. Majesty does not arrive with thunder. It settles softly. It doesn't shout, "Look how powerful I am." Instead, it whispers, "See how I make all things new." The same hands that formed the stars are now shaping your scars into symbols of endurance. Majesty crowns what mercy restores. It doesn't deny your humanity, it dignifies it. Chosen one. The reason your journey has been so intense is because heaven has been preparing you to carry both grace and glory. Mercy alone saves you, but majesty sends you. Mercy heals your wounds. Majesty commissions your hands. You were not meant to live as one who merely survived grace. You were meant to rule through it, not rule over others, but over fear, guilt, and limitation. When you understand mercy, you stop running from God. When you understand majesty, you stop running from yourself. The two revelations together make you whole. You no longer need to prove your worth, because worth has already been spoken over you. You no longer need to hide your past, because heaven has turned it into prophecy. Think of your life as a tapestry woven with two colors, one thread of mercy, soft and silver, the other of majesty, golden and strong. Each challenge pulled the threads tighter, creating contrast and depth. If you look too closely, you might only see knots and tension, but when you step back, you begin to see the masterpiece emerging, the story of a soul restored by grace and crowned with purpose. There is a serenity that comes when you stop striving to earn love. That serenity is where mercy and majesty meet. You begin to understand that your mistakes are no longer thorns. They've become the proof of transformation. Every wrong turn, every failure, every shattered dream has been rewritten by divine authorship. Nothing is wasted in the hands of a merciful king. Now you stand, clothed in light, not because you earned it, but because you allowed it. The majesty that once seemed distant now lives within you. You carry it quietly in the way you speak hope, in the way you forgive, in the way you love without fear. The glory of God does not make you proud, it makes you peaceful. It teaches you to see others not through judgment, but through compassion, the same lens mercy used on you. You have been transformed by a love that remembers your humanity, yet never lets it limit your divinity. Mercy covered your shame, majesty restored your name. Together, they have rewritten your story into one that even angels study in awe. Chosen one. This is the truth. Heaven wants you to keep close. You are not defined by the fire you endured, but by the light you now carry. The same God who reached into your ashes now calls you radiant. The same mercy that lifted you from despair now sits beside majesty and says, "Look at our reflection, it is complete." No, so walk in quiet confidence, not as one rescued from ruin, but as one reborn into royalty. You are the living intersection of compassion and power, where mercy meets majesty, and through you, the world will glimpse both. The public unveiling, chosen one. The quiet season is ending. The years of being unseen, unheard, and misunderstood were not punishment. They were preparation for this unveiling. You've been hidden like a seed beneath the soil, pressed by darkness, watered by tears, and warmed by the unseen light of grace. Now, the ground that once held you is beginning to break. The world will soon witness what heaven has known all along. You were never buried, you were planted. There's a holy rhythm in how God reveals his chosen ones. First comes obscurity, then formation, and finally, unveiling. Every cocoon must close tightly before the butterfly can emerge. Every masterpiece must remain covered before the artist reveals it to the world. The covering was not rejection, it was protection. Heaven needed you to grow in silence so that your roots could go deep enough to handle visibility. You are stepping into a new chapter now, one where what was done in secret will begin to shine publicly. The people who once overlooked you will find themselves drawn to the light you now carry. But remember, this unveiling is not about applause, it's about assignment. The stage is not a platform for pride, it is an altar for purpose. As Jesus himself spoke in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 8, verse 17, "For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor anything secret that will not be known and come to light." You are being unveiled not for recognition but for impact. The world needs what you carry, the wisdom born from your wilderness, the compassion shaped by your heartbreak, the strength forged in the fires of refinement. You are a message wrapped in skin, a living sermon written in scars and redemption. The unveiling isn't about being seen, it's about being useful. Still, it's natural to feel both excitement and hesitation. Exposure is weighty. It brings both opportunity and scrutiny. But remember, the same God who anointed you in private will sustain you in public. The same Spirit that strengthened you when no one knew your name will speak through you when everyone does. You don't step into the spotlight alone. You carry the light within you. Think of yourself as a lantern. A lantern doesn't generate light. It carries it. It's the flame inside that makes it glow. And that flame was kindled long ago, when you whispered yes to heaven in the dark. Now, as your light begins to reach others, keep the flame tended through humility, prayer, and gratitude. The goal is not to be admired, but to illuminate. If these words find you at the edge of visibility, if you can sense that something inside you is ready to be revealed, take heart. Heaven trusts you with this stage because you've learned to bow before it. You've learned that true greatness kneels before it rises. This unveiling is not about proving who you are, but about revealing who God has been all along. Every victory, every opportunity, every open door will be a mirror reflecting His faithfulness. You will shine, yes, but your light will always point back to the source. And if this message resonates in your spirit, let your agreement be seen. Comment below. I choose my crown. Write it not as a boast, but as a vow, a declaration that you will wear your crown with humility. Crowns are not ornaments, they are responsibilities. They remind you of who you represent. When you type those words, you are saying, I choose accountability over arrogance. I choose purpose over pride. I choose to serve even while I shine. 1. If this word feels like a mirror showing you the next step of your journey, take a moment to like this message. Not for numbers, but as a gesture of gratitude, your way of saying, I see what heaven is doing. Then share it. So, another hidden one, somewhere out there, someone still buried under doubt, might see that their unveiling is also near. And if your spirit hungers for more moments like this, subscribe to stay within the current of these divine reminders. It's not just about following a page, it's about staying connected to a flow of words designed to keep your light alive. Every interaction is not transaction, it's participation. You are helping spread light in a world desperate for it. Your single act of engagement may be the bridge that brings someone else out of hiding. Chosen one. Lift your head. The covering is lifting. The soil is breaking. The light is spreading. The unveiling has begun, and this time, the world will not just see what you do, they will see who you have become. Glory in the aftermath. Chosen one. The storm has passed, but the air still trembles with its memory. You stand in the quiet that follows the battle, surrounded by fragments of what was, and yet, somehow, everything feels new. This is the sacred silence after survival. The moment when heaven's glory begins to seep through the cracks left by chaos. What once looked like ruin now shimmers with redemption. Every great storm ends with evidence not of destruction, but of transformation. Trees may stand stripped, the ground soaked, but new life begins where the rain has fallen. The same is true for you. The storm did not come to erase you, it came to water the soil of your destiny. The winds that threatened to uproot you have instead planted you deeper. The rain that blinded you for a season has washed away everything that was never meant to stay. You thought the storm was punishment, but heaven calls it preparation. The aftermath is not emptiness, it is fertile ground. You have been renewed in ways that only those who have weathered darkness can understand. What once felt like loss now carries the fragrance of life. As was written in the Psalms, chapter 30, verse 5, weeping may endure for a night, But joy comes in the morning. That joy is not shallow laughter, it is deep, steady assurance. It is knowing that the night didn't win, that even in your lowest valley, light was waiting to return. You have crossed from grief into grace, from battle into blessing, from chaos into calm. This is what glory in the aftermath feels like, a peace so weighty it silences fear without words. Look around the landscape of your soul. What once looked desolate now glows with quiet beauty. The broken pieces have not vanished. They have been rearranged into something whole. The wounds have not disappeared. They have turned into windows through which heaven's light shines. You do not need to hide your scars anymore. They have become your testimony. There is a special kind of glory reserved for those who kept faith when the fire burned hottest. It doesn't shout, it settles. It's not loud triumph, but deep transformation. You no longer need to strive to prove your strength. Your survival is its own evidence. Every breath you take is a victory. Every moment of calm, a song of praise that heaven hears. In the aftermath, you begin to notice beauty in ordinary things. Again, the morning light, the sound of rain, the laughter of others. These are not coincidences. They are signs that your heart has healed enough to see color again. Glory teaches your eyes to find wonder where pain once blinded them. The storm did not change who you are. It revealed who you've always been. The world will see a survivor, but heaven sees a conqueror. The difference is subtle but powerful. Survivor endure, conquereur transforme. You've transformed. You no longer carry the same energy you once did. There's wisdom in your words, gentleness in your power, and stillness in your strength. You will find that people are drawn to you now, not because of charisma, but because of peace. They can sense the aftermath of glory, the residue of someone who walked through fire and came out shining. You don't need to preach your story. Your presence preaches for you. Every word, every action, every silence carries authority forged in endurance. Glory, in the aftermath, is also quiet accountability. You've been given peace not only to enjoy, but to extend. You are now a carrier of calm, a vessel of healing, a reminder that storms end and light always returns. Others will find shelter in your story. The compassion you now carry is not learned from books. It is born of experience. The same heavens that once thundered now open gently above you. Blessing begins to fall like soft rain, steady, consistent, restorative. Opportunities will appear naturally, not through striving, but through alignment. You won't need to chase what belongs to you. It will recognize the fragrance of your perseverance and come, chosen one. This is not the end of your story. It is the bloom after the storm. Glory is not a crown placed on your head. It is light woven into your soul. It doesn't shout of success. It whispers of survival turned sacred. You carry the calm of one who knows that even the fiercest night cannot stop the dawn. Stand still in this moment. Breathe deeply. Feel the peace in your bones. You have come through fire, water, and silence. And now you stand, clothed in glory. The aftermath has become your anointing, the eternal echo, chosen one. Eternity has a sound. It is not thunder, nor trumpet, nor applause. It is the quiet echo of a soul that finally says yes. That sound has been recorded tonight, reverberating through the corridors of heaven, weaving itself into the eternal rhythm of creation. You may not hear it, but heaven does. Every angel, every star. Every grain of dust in the universe knows that one of God's chosen has completed the circle of becoming. This is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of a greater unfolding. The last 10 years were about finding your voice. Tonight is about releasing it. Heaven doesn't measure time in minutes or years, but in obedience. In the moments when your heart aligns perfectly with divine intent. Tonight is one of those moments, a hinge in eternity. The doors behind you have closed softly. The doors ahead swing open without resistance. You have crossed from becoming into being. You no longer reach for your purpose, you breathe it. It moves through you naturally, like wind through open fields. What once felt like striving has turned into flow. You have entered the rhythm of grace, the place where you no longer chase miracles because you have become one. Heaven's records are alive with this night. Somewhere in the invisible archives of eternity, a new line has been written under your name, fulfilled in faith. That sentence carries the weight of every trial you endured, every tear you sowed, every prayer you whispered when no one else could hear. You didn't simply survive, you were refined into reflection. You mirror heaven now subtle, steady, luminous, as was spoken by the Lord himself in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, verse 23. Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many. Enter into the joy of your Lord. Lon. Those are not just words from an ancient page. They are the song heaven now sings over you. Faithfulness has never gone unnoticed. The small, unseen moments mattered more than you realized. The forgiveness you gave without recognition. The hope you kept when there was no reason to. The love you offered when it wasn't returned. These moments have accumulated into glory, woven into eternity's fabric as evidence of your obedience. Chosen one. The echo of your yes will travel far beyond your lifetime. It will ripple through generations, yet unborn. The choices you made in secret will create blessings your descendants will inherit. Heaven's timeline doesn't end with you, it expands because of you. The legacy of your faith will outlive your years. Just as light continues, long after its source has burned away. This is the quiet reward of obedience eternity remembers. Heaven marks those who chose faith over fear, mercy over vengeance, trust over logic. Your life has become one of heaven's favorite stories, a testimony whispered among angels about how light can rise from ashes and how silence can bloom into song. You may wonder, what now? The answer is simple. Live, not in striving, but in awareness. Live as one who knows that time is a gift, not a prison. Live with the peace that comes from knowing that every breath you take reverberates with purpose. Carry this consciousness gently like holding a candle in the dark, knowing that even the smallest flame can guide others home. You are no longer running from the past or fearing the future. You stand firmly in the eternal, now the space where heaven and earth meet. Every step you take from here will carry that resonance. You are a walking echo of divine faithfulness. A reminder that the story never truly ends. It simply deepens. The heavens have recorded your yes, and the universe will continue to play it back in waves of favor, healing, and grace. When storms rise again, and they will, you will hear that echo within you, steady as heartbeat, whispering, I am chosen, I am complete, I am not alone. This night will not fade like ordinary time. It will live on in the eternal memory of God. An everlasting note in the symphony of divine alignment. You have become what you were always meant to be, the sound of heaven manifest on earth. And when silence falls again, it will not be emptiness, it will be awe, because in that stillness, eternity will continue to echo with your name, Chosen One. If these words have stirred something within you, if, at any moment, your heart whispered, "This is for me," then know this: heaven led you here for a reason. You didn't stumble into this message, you were summoned. Every section, every phrase, every verse has been a mirror to remind you who you are, light wrapped in human form, purpose wearing skin. Before you go, pause for one last sacred act. Like this message, if it has met you where silence once lived, each like is more than digital approval. It is a signal to heaven saying, "I receive this word." Share it if you feel led. Not for numbers, but so another weary soul might find their reminder too. You never know who is scrolling at their breaking point, waiting for a sentence to save them. And when you feel that quiet conviction in your chest, comment below. Not a long testimony, just a few words from your spirit. Let heaven see your echo in writing. Finally, subscribe to stay within this flow of divine messages, a steady stream of light to keep your fire from fading. You are the chosen one. The story continues with you.